Hello everyone. In this video I'm going to be talking to you around the new feature in Azure. It's called Azure Private Link, and I'm going to be showing you what it does and how you can allow like private connectivity into PaaS services. In this example I'm going to be using the SQL database as the PaaS service. But the idea is like I'm going to be showing you how well it works, and how we can secure our environment by only allowing private connections into our PaaS services. So let's go ahead, and I'll quickly explain. So I'm not going to be showing you how I built this environment. So I have got a test environment that's built in order to demonstrate to you this, but I'm not going to be showing you how I built that. So what I've currently got is actually a environment where I have a PaaS service, and then I have like few virtual machines that is actually connecting to this PaaS service. So two of those virtual machines are in Azure, and then they go through the Azure network, and then they access the PaaS SQL database via public IP. And similarly, I have also an on-premises virtual machine, which is my laptop basically. So this laptop is also connected to the database over the public internet. So normally when in this setup, normally up until now we used to allow public IP addresses where this SQL database will be getting requests from. On the firewall, you love those ones, and then you love access to those clients. So because it's in the internet, and sometimes it's hard to allow, or sometimes it's like you're allowing a lot of public IP addresses, and it's normally a range and everything, and it's really hard to control that. And there are some occasions where it's not possible to allow restrict public IP addresses into the SQL database. So this sometimes doesn't work well. So which leads into security compromises where you allow everything from the public internet to connect to this, and then if you have if you can do a brute force attack on this and get access to this SQL database, then your database is compromised. So let's have a look at how we're gonna achieve this. So there's this new feature called Microsoft Azure Private Link, which can help with these scenarios. So how we can do is we can create an Azure Private Link within our environment. So what it does is it does like a NAT rule into our public service, and then it uses the Microsoft backbone to transfer that traffic into the network. So if you have a private network within your environment, doesn't matter which region it is, as long as you have a private link, it will then take you. It's kind of creating a backdoor tunnel into your PaaS service. So it kind of takes you all the way to the PaaS service, and then you can block all your public access and then allow only the private access to come in. So my final state of what I'm trying to achieve here is all my connections, rather than allowing them from the public internet, I'm going to be allowing them through the private link, so that that's going to be all private traffic, and it's not going to hit the public internet at all while accessing this Azure SQL database. So you can see here, so like even the peered networks, they can access that using the private link, and then my on-prem machines, they can access through the express route or a VPN into the network, and then go over the Microsoft backbone to the PaaS service. So what I've got is in my Azure portal, I've got a SQL database, which is this one here, and I have also got test machines and the networks as well. So what I first need to do is I need to create a private endpoint for this database. So let's go to the database, and then that private endpoint, basically you point where you want to create the private link, and then you create the private endpoint there. So private endpoint is pretty much same as the private link. So let's go. Yeah, so let's go ahead and create the private link. So I'm going to be creating the private link on this or the private endpoint on this resource group. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to add another resource. So it's basically another resource in the Azure world. So you call that private link. There we go. So that's the one. So you create a private link resource, and so it gives you a quick overview of how this works in here. And then basically what I need to do is I need to go to private endpoint and then add a new private endpoint, and then I'm going to be placing that in the SQL database. That's correct. So I'll give that the name SQL DB1 private endpoint 1, and then I'm going to be putting in the region of East US. I'm gonna be putting in that same region as the database is, but it doesn't matter. You don't have to do that. It can be anywhere in Azure region. So let's go and create the resource type that I'm gonna be hooking this Azure private endpoint is the SQL server, and then I have this SQL server here that I already have, and then that's the SQL server there. So the SQL resource subtype is that. So it goes through approval process when you create the private endpoint, but in my case, because my private endpoint is in the same resource group as the database, it will get automatically approved. So virtual network, I want to put it into an existing virtual network, and I want to put it in the backend. And yeah, so in this case you need the DNS resolved for these private links. So your databases, when they connect internally, they will be using the private link.database.windows.net DNS name. So you can actually manually create this as well, but for the demonstration purposes, I'm going to be clicking yes on this to do that integration automatically. So what it's going to do is it's going to create a DNS zone, private DNS zone, and then hook it to my virtual network. So I'm gonna do it automatically so that I don't have to do it manually in this case. So that's pretty much it. So I'll show you once that private DNS is also created. So that's the tricky bit, but I'll explain you when I connect from the on-prem side of things. I'll have to do that DNS manually anyway. So it doesn't matter. You don't have to use Azure DNS. It's just whatever the DNS method you use, you need to have that zone configured. Alright, so I'll let that complete and then I'll resume the video afterwards. Okay, the deployment is now complete. So let's go and have a look at what it has created. So let's go to the resource groups first, and then if you go to the SQL resource group, you will see that the private link and the local IP or the private IP address has been created. So let's go and have a look at what the private IP address is. So it's got the 192.168.49.5 IP address allocated for this private link. So what this does is it's basically a placeholder where it says that this server is now connected to this private IP. So if you basically try to connect to this private IP on the SQL port, you will see that it's actually going through the PaaS service. So you don't need to use a public IP to connect to that afterwards. So in here as well, so if you go to the SQL server, because it's correlated, if you go in here, you will see that it's been already approved, auto approved, because it's in the same directory, and you will see that that's allowed. So it has allowed connections coming from this private IP. That's the other one. So if you look at that private DNS zone that I talked to you about, so this is that one. So that's created and hooked into the virtual network. So this is the virtual network that we selected. So that private link private zone, Azure private DNS zone is now connected to this, and they use that same resource group to provision that resource. And what you will see there is it already automatically created a record for this server. Points to this private IP. So what happens is whatever the server that uses that private DNS, it will actually use it will have that name resolution for this public so this private IP, so that you can actually do the connection using the server name. So that's that. And so it seems like it's all connected. So all what we need to do is we need to log into one of the test servers in this network and then try connecting that. So let's go ahead and connect to one of the test servers there. So this is one of the test servers that I have got, and let's log in and see. What I have done is I have installed the Microsoft Azure Data Studio, so which is this software here. The Azure Data Studio is actually like a SQL management studio. So you can, it's a small scaled down version of that. So you can simply do the SQL connections, run queries on it as well. So what I have done is on this server, I have actually installed that. So what we will do is we will open that, and at the same time, if you open up a command prompt, we can double check if that private link DNS name resolution works or not. So basically the DNS name is based on the private link and the server name, the DNS zone, the private link DNS zone that you created. So if you do a ping on that, you can see that it's already resolving to the local IP address. So if you make a connection to that, so I have already got this connection. So what I would do, I would basically edit that. So this is the server name that we need to go to connect to, and then if you use that, then it's not using the public IP addresses. So I'll show you in a second. So we'll just do connect, and then you will see that it's getting successfully connected. So you can see all the databases and everything. So that's using the private link connectivity, right? So let's go to the database and have a look at how we have exposed that in the public side of things. So let's go to the firewalls and just make sure that none of the IP addresses are allowed from external. So currently I've got this IP address, which is my home IP address. So let's go delete that. So none, like I don't allow any public IP addresses from external, and allow Azure services also is turned off. So that's good. And now if let's disconnect this and let's try to connect again, and you will be able to see that it's connecting without any issues, and that's because you're connecting using the private DNS or private link. That's perfect. So that's the test machine that's in the same network. So I'm gonna be checking this connectivity from my local computer, or actually another server in Azure, which is peered to the network. So I'll show you what that means. So this one, all what we did is we did connectivity test using this machine to that. And what we will do now is we'll connect this machine to this using the same private network. For that, we need to have the name resolution configured on this virtual network, because currently the private DNS is only attached to this. So you'll need to attach to this one as well, so that you get name resolution. So what we need to do first is get that private DNS. And then what we need to do is we need to go to virtual network links, and you need to have a look at what links it has currently. Yeah, what I want to do is I want to connect to this virtual network as well. I'll call that the VNet2, and then click OK, and then you will be able to see that it's having the name resolution. So at the same time, I'm going to be connecting to that server, which is in 53.4. see here I have got the data studio there as well, and at the same time you will do some DNS testing. So you need to have that result to the local IP address. So it's basically it's currently pointing to the public IP address. So if it doesn't result to the private IP address, it's pointing to the public IP address. So we need to make sure that it's pointed to that, and let's give it a minute and then try again. Actually, yeah, so it's connecting to the private IP address, as you can see here. So I'll add another server here with this private link address, and then I'll do the SQL login, SQL admin, yeah, so that connects via the private link as IP address as well. So that's working as well. So that's what I wanted to show you. So you can connect via peered VNets as well without any issues. So now let's go and check our local instance. So in my local instance, if I do a ping here, it connects to a public IP address. So I need to have a host record in here to point to the private IP address. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit the host file and then point to this IP address rather than the public IP address. So just give me a second, I'll save that and flush the DNS. Yeah, so now it's pointing to the private IP address, and it's all about name resolution when it comes to private IP. So let's disconnect this. Actually, it's connecting to the public IP anyway. So let's put the private link and SQL login, and let's have a look. So this should again allow connectivity. So currently nothing allowed from public, all happening internally, and that's the beauty of using private link. So it's a really cool feature. It's currently only available in limited number of PaaS services, but it will be available. Microsoft will be pushing that out to a lot of services in the future. So stay tuned, and I think it's a really good feature that customers can use to protect the application. We hope you learned something about this, and thanks for listening and watching, and I'll catch you in another video.